channel. This is Coach Kayla, and I have a really quick one for you today. A lot of women I grew up with, or a lot of women that I coach, or a lot of women that I have conversations with, they grew up in houses where their mom was always on a diet, right? And for them, it seemed toxic, irrational, unhealthy, you know, which is all untrue, which is all very true statements, right? When you're always on a diet, it is not healthy. And the downside of experiencing that as a kid, though, is a lot of them, in order to avoid that with their own daughters and with their own kids, sometimes they go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, right? So you have like dieting all the time, constantly concerned about weight, constantly concerned about what food's in the house and all that stuff. And then you have the other side where it's you don't you don't even talk about the importance of being healthy and eating healthy with your kids because they feel like it's a slippery slope. They feel like just by mentioning it or talking about it, they're going to end up like their mom, right? And so they don't count their calories, they avoid anything like that. And they avoid buying anything with the words diet or skinny because they don't want to be associated with it at all, right? It sounds crazy, but I'm serious. I've talked to people that have done this. They don't want to pay attention to their calories or their macros because they don't want their kids to see them eating different things than them. They don't want to have that conversation. They want to completely avoid that, right? And so they don't want to be obsessive about fitness or exercise. And so they just don't do it at all because they just don't. But you can see how that is just as unhealthy as the household they grew up in, right? Arguably worse. Because if you grew up in that kind of household where your mom was always on a diet, think of how intuitive you were to pick up on that, right? I mean, unfortunately, some girls were actually forced to diet with their moms, which is terrible. But for those who were just observers, just watching, you noticed, right? Kids notice things and they model behavior. Okay. Either they like, I'm going to do that's how life is, or obviously some people take the complete opposite approach, right? But they notice that what healthy is supposed to look like is never acknowledged or even discussed. They notice that this is what life is supposed to be like. They notice that mom and dad never exercise, or they don't think it's important because mom and dad never do, right? They notice that. And so they model that. And sometimes, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of women, in order to avoid like this toxic diet culture that they grew up in, instead they just feed their kids to the wolves of the obesity epidemic because they don't want to talk to them about why Cheetos is a bad choice, but watermelon is better, right? Like they don't want to talk about it. And that's not always, but I've just seen it too many times to count, right? And I get it. Okay. The motive for doing that and avoiding it is because you want your daughters and your kids, you want them to like love their body as it is. You don't want them to ever feel guilty eating certain things. You don't want them to live this like restricted life. You don't want to see that. You don't want them to think that they have to eat healthy to be whatever. Like it's coming from a good spot, right? But love is a verb. Okay? So how do you love your body? You love your body by feeding it good, wholesome, nutritious food and then teaching your kids what that means. Okay. That doesn't mean that you tell them that like certain foods are bad. You just teach them what foods are good, what foods are a better choice, what foods have protein, what foods have healthy carbs, what foods are good together, right? And why. And you teach them why cake and cookies are awesome once in a while and how they can incorporate them in without feeling guilty about it, right? You love your body by moving it every single day. It's made to move. And the best way to show your daughters and your children, the best way for them to learn how to love their bodies the right way is for you to show them. And if you don't know what true health is supposed to look like, hire someone who knows, please. Okay. Don't trust Google. Don't trust your own YouTube research. I know you're on YouTube right now, so I know you've probably you've probably listened to lots of YouTube doctors out there, right? That have all of this experience and all this knowledge, or don't trust those 21-year-old Instagram influencers who have perfect bodies and they're just going to send you their program for $20, Hire a coach. Hire someone who has learned it for themselves and has made it their life's mission to lead others and teach them the way. Please. Okay? Because I have a daughter too, right? She's 2. And in my opinion, her age of kids, like, they deserve to be healthy and they deserve to have enough knowledge and tools and resources and education that they will just laugh in the face of anyone who tries to tell them that keto or fasting or Optavia or cleanses or anything extreme or restrictive is the way to be healthy. They deserve to know that they matter. They deserve to know that their passions matter. They deserve to know that their health matters. And it's worth the time, the investment, and the attention. And they deserve to be shown that from their mom. So if you are a mom and you have kids and this resonated, comment below, subscribe, click the little notification button, and we produce content like this to help you be healthier and do it in a way that is not restrictive and helps you create your life unlimited. So have a good day. Hopefully this is valuable, and I will see you next time.